Hello, all of my conservative friends in the three grand sections of Tennessee. This is Brandon Lewis coming to you from the Tennessee Conservative Studios, such as they are in all their grandeur, to bring you the top 7 stories from this week's news all across Tennessee. But before I get into the stories, and Jason is going to post some information in the comments section with links to what we're going to discuss, I'd like to encourage you, as this broadcast goes on, to do 2 big things. Number one, we got some folks watching now, is in the comments section, let me know where you're watching from. Okay, the city, of course your name's going to be on there. I always like to know where our audience is in the state of Tennessee, because we do focus on a volunteer state. Second thing I'd like you to do is make sure that you tell me about what you think about these stories. I love reading those as we go through the show. I think it makes for a more interactive program. Before we get into stories, I'd like to get something off my chest, and it's about school choice in Tennessee, and specifically about what Republicans are not doing about it. Helen from East Tennessee joins us. Thank you very much. And here's the thing. If you owned rental property, and let's say you had 4 rental properties, and you hired a roofer for $11,200, which is what we pay so that we can not educate children in the state of Tennessee, and let's say they roofed 4 buildings, and the first rain came, and 3 of the buildings were ruined because the rain just came in. And then the next year, the roofer wanted to talk to you about increasing their prices, and if we just finagle a little bit with the roof, I might be able to keep the rain out. Same thing happens. 3 more ruined buildings. And if that went on for 40 years, would you continue to spend your hard-earned money with this roofer? If you did, you would be the dumbest landlord on the face of the planet. Right now, only 25% of our children are what they call on track to read at grade level. On track, that means they're not mastering the subject, they're on track. If you can't read, you can't go through life with any type of quality of life. You certainly can't be ready for the workforce. Mastery or the on track amounts for science and math are in the 20 and 30 percentile, and mastery on all of these subjects is in the single digits. Yet, instead of trying to get our kids out of these failing schools, Republicans are talking about little bitty tweaks to BEP funding formulas, and I've looked at what they propose as changes, although no numbers have been released, and it's the same old song and dance. They have failed at education, and they trot out these new programs. It's always a new program, and it's always a new position, and it's always a new system, and it's always a new process, and it fails miserably. Even in the school systems like Nashville and Memphis that they quote-unquote took over at the state level after threatening to do so, they've not seen any improvements, and in many cases they've seen it actually be worse under state-ran supervision. So my question to the Republicans in the General Assembly is simply this. Why will you not help the kids get out of this awful educational environment? It is the largest expenditure in our state budget. Republicans are managing it, and it's being managed poorly. If you put children into a cage with lions, and they continued to get eaten year after year, would you trot out programs about how we need to make the lion cages a little bit safer? Would you come up with new little slogans and logos and try to shift money around here and there and try to convince taxpayers for the 41st year that the kids won't get eaten this year? Or should you start having this conversation about how do we get the kids out of the lion cage? Because it's not working. The system is broken, and we need real school choice in Tennessee. That's my little soapbox. I mean, the problem is so evident and obvious. I do not know if they're fearful of teachers' unions, if they're fearful of the government employees that are in their districts, because it is just a huge government job racket from what I can see, with very low, terrible performance. And in fact, if you send your kids to many of these schools, these government schools in Tennessee, not only will they not learn to read, write, or do math, Not only will they not learn about science, they're going to come out of those schools being indoctrinated, and they're going to come out of those schools with worse habits. They're going to be bullied. We need to put our kids into the private sector school systems. And we need to let those private sector schools compete for school dollars. And if you want to homeschool, people should be given a tax credit with no strings attached. That's just my opinion. Tell me your opinion in the comments section and where you are watching from. All right, let's get into the stories here. And you can find a link to this in the comments section. Number one, will legislators act to safeguard our elections from social media censorship in Tennessee? As we head toward the 2022 midterms, many conservatives and Republican voices have been banned from social media, including our likely presidential candidate, Donald J. Trump, in 2024. This means Tennesseans will not be able to hear our candidate's side of the story on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, among others. Congressional candidates are already being banned by big tech, and it stands to reason that Tennessee state legislators and representatives will be the next to get the boot. They're going to come down ballot. If you think they're going to stop with censoring Republican ideas and candidates at the top, you're crazy. Years ago, Tennessee state campaigns were ran with direct mail, local radio, canvassing, and some select TV placements. Today, social media targeting is the number one or number two expenditure of savvy state and local campaigns. With these facts in mind, the Tennessee Conservative reached out to all of Tennessee state senators and representatives posing this question: do you or any other state reps or senators plan to propose legislation similar to that of Florida or Texas to help safeguard our elections from social media censorship and the harm it will do to the Republican Party at the federal and the state level? And so, if you look down in the comments section, you can see a link to this survey. And on the House side, several Republicans replied that they would support such legislation, and some have drafted legislation to this effect. We've yet to see it, but we probably will soon. And Tennessee Senate members that replied all acknowledged that we need that kind of legislation and voiced some support, but none stated they would be introducing bills to that effect. So I hope that changes. So legislators need to be proactive about this. We cannot wait until big tech has already stolen another election through censorship and locked down the situation to where we can't communicate. We need to get in there, and we need to make sure that we do it in advance of the presidential election. And in fact, I think we should do it in advance of the 2022 midterms. Maybe we can do it in this general session. Now, this is on the national level, but we're going to move to the next story. Biden approval rate drops to 33%. That is as low as I have seen a president's approval rating in my lifetime, to my knowledge. President Joe Biden's approval rating has declined even further amid high inflation, vaccine mandates, and other president's pushes for voting laws. The new polling shows that surveyed Americans give Biden a job approval rating of 33% rather, a figure that has steadily declined since he took office. Americans give Joe Biden a negative 33 to 53% job approval rating, while 13% did not offer an opinion. In November 2021, Americans gave Biden a negative 36 to 53% job approval rating, with 10% not offering an opinion. The poll came out a day after Biden chiding Republicans for refusing to support the Democrats' voting measures, which is really just their way of trying to control state elections all over the nation instead of letting the assemblies and the local governing authorities do what the Constitution says they can. And on the heels of the defeat of his Build Back Better spending in Congress, which we've all been through this before, right? Remember all of Obama's shovel-ready jobs that frankly just turned into nothing more than handouts to all of his buddies in various sectors that had given him money previously. This is all just crony capitalism done with your taxpayer dollars. On the contrary, Quinnipiac found that 34% of those surveyed approve of Biden's work, while only 57% disapprove. 35% approve of Biden's job on foreign policy. That was a great withdrawal from Afghanistan. While 54% disapprove, Biden saw higher approval ratings on his COVID-19 response last year, but now only 39% approve of his work on the pandemic, while 55% disapprove. Biden's support among Democrats has even dropped significantly in recent weeks. 75% of Dems approve, 14% disapprove, and 11% did not offer an opinion. Among Democrats in November's poll, 87% approved, 7% disapproved, and 6 did not offer an opinion. So old Joe's got some trouble, and I hope he sees more of it as we head into the midterms. Next story. Maury County Mayor refuses to comply with OSHA mandate to force vaccines. We need more people on the conservative side of the aisle that will actually get out there and do something, and will speak up and speak out. We've got a whole lot of bench warmers at the state and local level in Tennessee, and we need more activism. And we need more people pushing the conservative agenda instead of quaking every time somebody makes a little bit of noise in the corporate leftist media in Tennessee, which is very often. On Thursday, January 14th, 2022, the U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday, of course, blocked Biden's administration's vaccine mandate on private sector businesses, though it allowed a separate mandate to stand for healthcare workers, which is crazy to me. I mean, how can something be constitutional for one segment of people because they're employed in a certain situation, and not be constitutional over here? And we were certainly disappointed, very disappointed in Kavanaugh on this, and Tucker Carlson let him have it, gave him the business the other night, as well he should. Prior to the Supreme Court's decision, Maury County Mayor Andy Ogle said he does not plan to force any Maury County employees to take the vaccine. Mayor Ogle has made it clear that his employees in a Monday email that he would not be mandating that for the county employees either. Ogle stated, Maury County government will not comply with any OSHA mandate that forces an employee to be vaccinated against their will. Your health care is your business, and I will willfully go to jail before forcing any of you to take the vaccine. No one works for Maury County will be forced to do anything. If you want it, I hope you sign up. Free choice. Makes sense. Next story. Parents unhappy with current school choice options in Tennessee, which are frankly not much. The Tennessee Conservative shared a statistic on social media regarding TCAP scores for the 2021 school year. The response overwhelmingly showed the disappointment in Tennessee's education options, and I would say the leaders, if you're driving the bus on this, if you're in the Republican majority, this is yours. This is your baby. This is yours, okay? English language arts. TCAP scores showed that only 25% of Tennessee kids can read at grade level through 8, which is 3rd grade through 8th grade. One commenter said public schools are an abysmal failure. By any reasonable measure, it is legalized robbery of our tax dollars and theft of our children. I agree. Governor Bill Lee has been pushing for a more student-focused education funding program for months, along with Commissioner of Education Penny Schwinn, who has been heading up the effort. Lots of confidence in her. That is a sarcastic comment. To overhaul Tennessee's current funding formula framework known as the Basic Education Program, which has been in use with few meaningful changes for 30 years. 30 years is long enough. If something's been failing for 30 years, time to move on. Hundreds of Tennesseans from across the state have submitted public comments about the funding changes. The state will be accepting public comments from the funding formula has been extended to January 18th, which is 4 days from now. Comments can be sent to tnedu.funding@tn.gov. That is tnedu.funding@tn.gov. Next story, again, about how leftism has ruined not only our public schools and how government isn't good at education. Wait till you see where your tax dollars are going next. Woke professors to qualify for tenure at the University of Tennessee. According to plans obtained by the College Fix, the University of Tennessee, Knoxville School of Engineering, College of Law, School of Social Work will require diversity work as a condition of advancement and tenure status for professors. 20 different academic departments and administrative divisions at the university have 322 pages of plans for new diversity regulations, requirements, and goals to improve equity on campus. I'm just going to stop here for a moment. If Republicans think it is a good idea to take Republicans' tax dollars, Republican leadership, to take your tax dollars in a largely Republican state and use that money to fund a brainwashing operation that our young children will go through and then later come out as voters, if they think that is good politics for maintaining a majority in Tennessee, they can't be trusted to reason about these things. Set aside the fact that it is morally reprehensible, that it is just a new form of racism that the Democrats have cooked up, as they have and with their party's entire history, from the Ku Klux Klan down to modern day. But the fact that Republican lawmakers would allow your tax dollars to be poured into an indoctrination center like the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, it's just crazy. I mean, do you think that people are going to come out more conservative and more likely to support a Republican agenda when you're using taxpayer dollars to fund this stuff? It drives me nuts. Back to the story. To name a few, the plan would affect the College of Law, the School of Architecture, the College of Architecture, the School of Social Work, the College of the Arts and Sciences, the College of Nursing, of all universities' libraries. Now, why does a nurse need diversity and equity and inclusion training? Are you not going to serve all people of all races the same? Are you not? You should be colorblind when you go in. If somebody's having a heart attack, if somebody has had an overdose, if somebody is recovering from a disease, would you not treat them the same regardless of skin color? Why do we need this? In addition, the Diversity Division wants to create a small group of conduct, a historical review of every named building and major outdoor space and campus to ensure that all spaces reflect a positive anti-racist legacy. They want to erase history is what they want to do. And they want to do it with your tax dollars, and they're presently doing it. Next story. Tennessee bill filed to grant school vouchers to students impacted by virus protocols. My hat's off to Senator Mike Bell and Representative Michael G. Curico for doing this. However, we don't need to be picking winners and losers in the school choice fight. We need universal school choice in the state of Tennessee. Parents in Tennessee who disagree with school policies regarding required masking or virtual learning may soon get state funding to send their children to a different school of their choice, including private schools. Representative Michael G. Curico and Representative Michael G. Curico and Senator Mike Bell's bill aims to expand on a voucher program that was pushed by Governor Lee and approved by the Tennessee legislature in 2019, but then was halted by a Nashville judge in May of 2020 when she ruled the program was unconstitutional as it only applied to students in Nashville and Memphis. Well, no SHIT. That's why you need universal school choice. If you give everyone in the state of Tennessee the option, the thing has a chance of making it. When you handpick little localities and little situations, it'll never have a chance to make it. I suspect a lot of rhinos knew that when they passed it, Bill Lee probably being one of them. Same thing with the constitutional carry that's now tied up in the court. That was not constitutional carry, permitless carry with a bunch of holes in it. The Tennessee Firearms Association said that bill was inferior and it would be tied up with legal challenges, and that's what's happened. Back to the story. Addressing the issues found with the 2019 program, Curico and Bell's bill would expand the law and make school vouchers available to students in any Tennessee district under the condition that the said district mandates mask or does not offer at least 180 days of in-person learning each school year in response to COVID-19. However, the bill would not cover students who were or are not exempt from a mask mandate and has been imposed from an executive, court, public health, or other legal order. If passed, the bill would, in effect, promote parent choice and disincentivize school districts from mandating COVID-19 mitigation strategies that have largely been opposed by the Tennessee GOP and conservatives in the state. Universal school choice. Or just give people their money back. You take your kids out of school, you send them anywhere. Could be homeschool, could be a private school. Here's a check. Go at it. Next story. Left-leaning groups tried to stop conservative critical race theory conference. If you did not see the interview I did with Moms for Liberty with 3 separate chapters, it was fantastic. I'm so glad about the work that they're doing here. Let's go into it. Political Action Committee, Williamson Strong, has started a petition in an attempt to coerce the owners of the factory at Franklin into canceling the American Dream Conference that plans to delve into the harm critical race theory has on our children and society and how CRT flies in the face of the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Williamson Strong states that the event will be anti-diversity despite the fact that the speakers at the event are indeed racially diverse. It doesn't matter if you're racially diverse. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. Your ideas are not in step with the new racism. And every culture, And every political system that has promoted censorship is always heading in the wrong direction. It's heading away from the bright, shining city on a hill that our nation has been, and toward the doom and gloom of all of the degrading of European socialism that you see all over in our sister countries where democracy was born. Look over there. And then look at other places like China. Look at South America. Look at Africa. We have seen these ideas tried. They do not work. Williamson Strong are also calling on Williamson County political leaders and businesses to publicly denounce the event that they say disrespects the honor of Dr. King and his fellow civil rights activists. Dr. Carol Swain, apparently not black enough for these people, former Nashville mayoral candidate who is featured speaker at the conference as well as MC, and whose By the People project is hosting the event along with Moms for Liberty, says those speaking out about the event are using language that is misleading and false. Well, if they're speaking, it's misleading and false. Swain calls such groups a nuisance and say they have nothing to offer but opposition, but noted that their efforts to cancel the conference has backfired, only adding to its publicity. Guys, from time to time, I will forget something, and today is no exception. Please do go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com/support, and when you give, we will send you this handy-dandy directory of all your state reps and senators. I will be encouraging you as bills move through committee and subcommittee to be contacting them so we can get good legislation through, and I'll be telling you who the rhinos are. As they go through committees, I'll send out emails, we'll send out texts. People will not be able to hide. And we'll also send you 2 Proud Tennessee Conservative bumper stickers. And if you give $50 or more, or a recurring donation of any size, you get this Proud Tennessee Conservative tumbler. This thing is a beauty. The other day I saw an 18-wheeler that was off on the road. It had lost a couple of tires, and we jacked that thing up, stuck this puppy underneath it. This thing will support about 50 metric tons of weight. You could actually, probably park the Statue of Liberty on top of this if she were not weeping convulsively for the death of our nation and all things that she was originally meant to honor. The Tennessee Conservative Tumbler can be yours, and we do need your support. I do this out of my back pocket because I believe in the mission, but with your help, we can reach more conservatives, and we can do a better job than we're doing now, and it helps us also reach other conservatives because every time we find a subscriber, it costs money. And we are building our list so that we can tell you the truth, because the corporate media outlets in our state will not do it. 90-some-odd%, I think it's about 95% of reporters in the state of Tennessee identify that as liberal or left-leaning, and so you can't trust the news from there. Guys, I hope you're having a great start to the new year. It's halfway through January already. I'm Brandon Lewis with the Tennessee Conservative, your friend in liberty and freedom. Until next time, I'm signing off. Take care, guys. Do check out the links in the comments section, stories, surveys, support our efforts. Take care.